Welcome to Love, Lust, Betrayal. Today, we unravel the tangled web of emotions in the lives of Claire and Daniel. Their story is one of love, longing, and choices that change everything. Claire and Daniel had a life that seemed picture-perfect to the outside world. Their cozy home in the suburbs was filled with reminders of their past love, photographs from vacations, a framed wedding invitation, and the faint scent of lavender candles Claire once lit every evening. But behind the facade, their marriage was slowly unraveling. Conversations had turned into brief exchanges, and their once vibrant laughter had been replaced with a stifling silence. Daniel, a dedicated teacher, often came home exhausted. Claire, an ambitious architect, buried herself in her work, seeking solace in the structure and creativity of her projects. That's when Ethan walked into her life. It started innocently enough. Ethan was a new client, seeking Claire's expertise for an upscale project. He was magnetic, a man who could light up a room with his presence. His confidence was intoxicating, and his attention was unwavering. Unlike Daniel, who seemed preoccupied with grading papers and lesson plans, Ethan noticed Claire. Truly noticed her. Their conversations, initially about building layouts and materials, shifted to jokes and personal stories. Claire found herself looking forward to their meetings, her heart racing with anticipation. The way Ethan leaned in when she spoke, the way his eyes lingered on hers, it was all so intoxicating. One evening, as they worked late on a proposal, Ethan offered to walk her to her car. The night was quiet, save for the faint rustling of leaves in the breeze. As they said goodbye, their eyes met, and for a fleeting moment, Claire felt a connection she hadn't felt in years. She quickly brushed it off, convincing herself it was harmless. Back at home, Daniel began to notice subtle changes in Claire. She was dressing up more, wearing perfume he didn't recognize, and her late nights at work had become more frequent. Daniel's love for Claire was deep, but so was his fear of losing her. He found himself lying awake at night, replaying moments when he felt her slipping away. He tried to convince himself it was all in his head, but doubt gnawed at him. Claire, on the other hand, was battling a storm of emotions. She knew her growing closeness with Ethan was wrong. She reminded herself of her vows, of the life she and Daniel had built together. But every time she was with Ethan, she felt alive in a way she hadn't for years. One evening, as Claire stood in front of the bathroom mirror, she stared at her reflection. "What am I doing?" she whispered to herself. But even as guilt washed over her, she couldn't stop the whirlwind that was Ethan. The moment that changed everything came one fateful evening. Ethan had invited Claire to dinner to celebrate the completion of a major project milestone. She hesitated but convinced herself it was just a dinner between colleagues. The restaurant was intimate, with dim lighting and soft jazz playing in the background. Over a bottle of wine, their conversation flowed effortlessly. Ethan leaned closer, his hand brushing against hers. "Claire," he said softly, his voice like a melody. "You deserve to be cherished." Her heart raced. The words hung in the air, their weight undeniable. And before she could think, before she could stop herself, their lips met. The kiss was electric, and for a brief moment, Claire felt the world fade away. But as the moment ended, reality came crashing back. She had crossed a line, and there was no going back. At home, Daniel sat in the living room, scrolling through his phone. A notification popped up, a message on Claire's phone left on the coffee table. It was from Ethan. Daniel's heart sank as he read the words, "I can't stop thinking about tonight." The air was heavy when Claire walked through the door that night. Daniel was waiting, the message open on her phone. "How long, Claire?" His voice was steady but laced with pain. "How long have you been lying to me?" Claire froze, tears welling up in her eyes. "Daniel, I didn't mean for this to happen. I was lonely. We've been so distant." "Lonely?" Daniel's voice cracked. "And you think this betrayal, is the solution?" Their argument erupted into a storm of emotions: anger, hurt, regret. Words they could never take back were spoken. When the shouting stopped, they sat in silence, the weight of their shattered trust pressing down on them. In the days that followed, Claire and Daniel avoided each other, lost in their own thoughts. Claire felt the gravity of what she had done, and Daniel grappled with the pain of betrayal. One evening, Claire sat beside Daniel, her voice trembling. "I don't expect you to forgive me, Daniel. But I want to try. For us." Daniel looked at her, his eyes filled with both love and sorrow. "I need time, Claire. But if we're going to rebuild this, it has to be from the ground up." The road ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and doubts. But one thing was clear: they had a choice. To let their love fade into memory or to fight for what once made them whole. Love isn't just about the good times. It's about facing the storms together, or choosing to walk away. For Claire and Daniel, the story isn't over. It's just beginning.